considering moving to Centennial or somewhere in the Denver metro area? Well, in this video, we're going to be talking about the 7 pros and the 7 cons of living in Centennial, Colorado, so stay tuned. Hey everybody, my name is Landon Bellum. I'm the marketing manager and an associate broker with Mod Estate, which is a real estate brokerage that services the greater Denver and the greater Colorado Springs areas. If you're new to the channel, welcome. It's great to have you. We've got tons of awesome content about all sorts of cities in the Denver metro area. If you're a subscriber or you've seen our videos before, welcome back. We're really glad to have you. I'm currently right here in Centennial, Colorado. It's a beautiful day, a little bit windy though, so I apologize if you can hear some of the wind in my mic. I hope that the sound quality turns out okay in this video, but I think it will. I think we'll be able to make it manage. Today, like I said, we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of living in Centennial, Colorado. So if you're considering moving to Centennial, or you like the area, or you're just interested in learning more about cities in the Denver area, well, then this is going to be a great video for you. As always, like the video, comment below what you thought about these pros and cons, and subscribe, hit that little bell notification icon so that you're always up to date with the new videos that we're posting to provide value just for you. I was actually here in this exact spot filming this video, pros and cons of living in Centennial, a couple days ago, but I learned my lesson. Never go out to film 3 videos without checking the weather. I got snowed out very quickly, but by the time I got back to my car, my hands were completely purple. So yeah, I won't do that again. I'll be more careful when I go out to film. But anyways, I'm here today. It's a beautiful day, much nicer than it was a few days ago. And let's go ahead and jump right into this video, starting off with the 7 pros of living in the great city of Centennial. Okay, for our first pro of living in Centennial, Colorado, we're going to talk a little bit about the great homes, neighborhoods, and communities that there are here. So I actually just recently made videos about first off, the top 11 neighborhoods in Centennial, Colorado, and then I made another video about the top 5 luxury neighborhoods in Centennial, Colorado. So neighborhoods that commonly have homes for sale above $1 million. Both of these videos go into, like I said, the neighborhoods, the communities, the places to live that are amazing in this city. But this is just a great way to start off our list of pros. This is a great city to live in because there are great places to live in. Tons of fantastic neighborhoods, tons of, like this, neighborhoods that are just surrounded, and immersed with some great nature, some great parks, and a great sense of community. So that is our number 1 reason for living in Centennial, Colorado. If you're looking for good communities, good neighborhoods, good homes, beautiful places to live, a little mix of kind of the suburban and city life, then this is going to be a pretty good choice for you. For our second pro of living in Centennial, Colorado, we're going to talk about the great schools and school districts here in the city of Centennial. So depending on what side of Centennial you live in, whether it's, the east or the west side, kind of depends on what schools and what school districts you'll be in. If you're on the eastern side of Centennial, there's a good chance that you're going to be in Cherry Creek School District. And this is commonly regarded as one of the best school districts in all of Colorado. Definitely in the Denver metro area. There are some great school districts down south kind of in Colorado Springs, but in the Denver metro area, Cherry Creek School District, it really doesn't get much better than that. So on the eastern side of Centennial, there are some neighborhoods and communities that do feed into Cherry Creek. If you're on the western side of Centennial, there's a good chance you're going to be in the Arapahoe County, the Arapahoe School District, and plenty of amazing schools and staff and schools and teachers there. So keep that in mind as well. So if you have kids that are going to be growing up in Centennial, going to school, elementary, middle school, high school, Centennial is going to be a great place for them to get a good education. Centennial has an amazing location. This is the 3rd pro that we have here for living in Centennial, Colorado. It is very centralized. And what do I mean by that? Well, just to the north, you have Denver. On either side, you have Aurora. You're very close to Parker, very close to Littleton, Greenwood Village. To the south, you have Lone Tree, Highlands Ranch. There's a lot of very popular cities that you're likely going to be traveling to. Lots of very popular places to work, important places to be, great places to shop are either in or around Centennial. So great location. It's going to save you a lot of commuting time no matter what you do, where you go. Okay, this is kind of a fun one. For our 4th pro of living in Centennial, Colorado, we're going to talk about kind of the recreational things to do, and the Broncos training center. So the Broncos, a big, very popular NFL team, their training center is actually in Centennial. And you can go there for free and watch them train, watch them practice, get up and close to the players. Really, really cool. I've actually gone a couple of times, and both times it was a really cool experience. So if you're a big football fan, especially Broncos fan, maybe living in Centennial is great for you, because you can go in the mornings to the training center, watch them play, and get that really cool close-up experience to Broncos players, professional athletes. Now, kind of going along with this, there's a lot of cool recreational centers, lots of awesome fun things to do. One of these is Topgolf. Topgolf, you might be familiar with. They're all over the United States. Very cool driving range with a bar, food service, all sorts of things. Very fun. There's one right in Centennial. Tons of parks and other recreational things to do in this city. So that comes in at our fourth pro of living in Centennial. For our fifth pro of living in Centennial, we're going to talk about Centennial's very own airport. Maybe you travel a lot, or you don't want to commute to the Denver International Airport. Well, Centennial has an airport of its own, so that's pretty awesome. Now, it's going to be a smaller one. It's not a large international airport like Denver International Airport is, but having an airport very close by, that's a big pro. You're probably going to have to pay a little bit more to use it. It's your locations that you're going to be able to travel to. It's going to be more limited, like I said, but still big pro having an airport in your city, even if it's a smaller one. Our sixth pro of living in Centennial, Colorado, is that this city is a hotspot for business. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, the Denver Tech Center is just north, just a few minutes north of Centennial. And the Denver Tech Center employs like over 100,000 people that work in like the tech industries. So that's big. A lot of people choose to live in Centennial because of its proximity to the Denver Tech Center. But there's also just a ton of offices, a ton of industrial things in Centennial, lots of commercial. So a lot of opportunity for business and businesses and working in business in Centennial. And for our seventh pro of living in Centennial, I actually kind of just mentioned it by accident, but the proximity of living to the Denver Tech Center is a huge pro, and it comes in our final pro of living in Centennial. Now, this one I put as its own pro because, like I said, it is not located, the Denver Tech Center is not located in Centennial. It's more in the Greenwood Village area. But a lot of people choose to live in Centennial when they work in the Denver Tech Center. And like I said, the Denver Tech Center employs over 100,000 people, maybe even more than that now, but big place to work, lots of opportunities there. And living in Centennial is just a quick drive away and has great places to live, like I mentioned in our first pro. All right, that's going to wrap up our pros of living in Centennial. Go ahead and comment below what you thought about our list of pros. What other ones do you know? There's plenty more. What other pros have you come up with of living in Centennial, Colorado? Let's jump into our 7 cons of living in this city of Centennial. No city's perfect. We all know that. I always say that in these pros and cons videos. Let's jump into the reasons why you might not want to move to Centennial and you might want to choose a different city in the Denver metro area. All right, for our first con of living in Centennial, Colorado, we're going to talk about the cost of living. Now, as you probably know, living in Colorado isn't cheap, especially compared to a lot of other states in the United States. But some cities, especially cities around the Denver metro area, do tend to be not only more expensive than the US averages, but more expensive than the Colorado averages. Centennial, no exception to this. This is going to be one of the more expensive places to live in Colorado and in the Denver metro area. For example, on the cost of living index, Centennial tends to rank more expensive in categories like just overall more expensive than the United States and Colorado, but also in aspects like grocery, housing, transportation, median home price, things like this do tend to be more expensive in Centennial than they do tend to be in other cities in Colorado and in other states in the United States. For our second con, we wanted to jump into this expense and cost of living a little bit deeper and talk about expensive homes. Now, we thought that this merited its own con because the homes in Centennial do tend to be quite expensive. For example, the median home price in Colorado does tend to hover around like the $488,000 mark for a single family residence. In the United States, the median home price tends to be around $290,000 for a home. And that's already a huge difference right there. Well, Centennial median home price tends to be around $587,000. So that's just insane. It's $100,000 more than Colorado's median home price. It's significantly, almost double. I don't want to do quick math, but yeah, sounds like almost double the median home price than the nation has usually. So man, it's just an expensive place to live. Now, here's the kicker though. It's not as expensive as other suburbs and other cities in the metro area. Highlands Ranch, Lone Tree, man, there's a few others like Castle Pines, Castle Rock, Parker. These places do tend to be more expensive than Centennial, but Centennial, still an expensive place to live. The homes are very expensive, and that's partially due to because of the great location we talked about and just the great homes, communities, and neighborhoods that are in here like we talked about in the pros. For our third con of living in Centennial, we're going to talk a little bit about traffic. So, like I said, Centennial has a great centralized location. There's a lot of great cities, a lot of great places to be in and around Centennial. Now, you could probably just have connected the dots. When that is the case, there's obviously going to be a lot of demand to be there or near there, which brings quite a bit of traffic. So, like I said, I-25, one of the major highways in Colorado, and plenty of other really popular roads, highways, freeways, are all in or around Centennial, and lots of people tend to be around here, tend to be in the city, out of the city, in and out of the city, around and near the city. So there's just going to be a lot of traffic, something that you're just going to have to deal with. Not fun, not ideal, but you know, that just kind of comes with being in a city that has a really good location. So you kind of have to deal with some congested roads when you live in Centennial, Colorado. It might get better in the future. They're trying to work on ways just in Colorado in general to make the traffic situation better. But if you're coming from a place like California, Los Angeles, Chicago, some places in New York, this traffic is going to be nothing compared to that. But this con is here because it is a problem. It might not be the biggest problem, but it is a con, and it's something that's probably going to get worse before it gets better. So keep that in mind as a con of living in Centennial, Colorado. Heavy traffic that will probably get worse. This is a pretty good segue into our fourth con of living in Centennial, Colorado, and that is that there are like car dealerships on every corner. Now, sure, we could just talk about car dealerships, but it is a city that does have a fair share of commercial and industrial places in it. So it's not just like, for example, Highlands Ranch, Castle Rock. These places are heavily residential, beautiful neighborhoods, things like that. Centennial is a large city. There's a lot of people that live here. There's a lot of residential, but like I said, a lot of commercial, a lot of industrial, and like I said, a lot of car dealerships. There's some roads that seriously, it's just car dealerships on every corner. And it's just like, where's the beautiful city of Centennial? Where's this? You know, this isn't everywhere. In Castle Rock, Parker, this is almost everywhere. Beautiful places like this. But Centennial has kind of been engulfed, at least certain areas, certain sides of Centennial has been engulfed in commercial and industrial places. So something to keep in mind, it has lost some of that, you know, small residential touch that a lot of Colorado neighborhoods still have. All right, for our fifth con, we're going to be talking a little bit about the growth and the crowding that comes with the growth that Centennial has seen and continues to see. Like I said, great place to live, great location. Centennial's a good city, but it has grown a lot. It has a lot of residents. So it's a large city that's located south of Denver. So a lot of people that need to be in Denver a lot tend to migrate towards Centennial, and that just keeps happening because Centennial, like I said, expensive housing, but compared to a lot of areas in Denver, compared to Highlands Ranch, compared to Lone Tree, compared to Parker, the housing isn't as expensive as those areas anymore. So a lot of people continue to go and move to Centennial, and it continues to grow and continues to crowd. And not just residentially, but like I said in the previous con, commercially, industrially, it continues to grow in those aspects as well. So this con is here just for you to know that Centennial continues to be a popular place for people to live and to do business and to be. So like I said, this kind of ties in with a lot of the cons, with traffic and with, the one that I said previously. Keep that in mind. Centennial, it's growing a lot because of a lot of the pros, but that can be a con in it of itself. Okay, number 6 on our list of the 7 cons of living in Centennial. We've kind of alluded to this already, but Centennial is slowly losing its outdoor activities and its outdoor spaces. Now, spaces like this are beautiful. There are lots of open space and trails and hikes and walks and things that you can do in the Centennial area. As the city continues to grow and continues to develop and people continue to realize that it is a great place, a good place to do business and a good place to live, it's just going to continue to lose these open areas. And I would say that compared to cities like, like Parker and Castle Rock, Castle Pines especially, Centennial doesn't really compare anymore to having these open spaces and these neighborhoods that have this open, nature-immersed feel to them. So that comes in at our 6th con, is that this is going to continue to go away, and a lot of it already has. Like I said earlier in this video, there's a lot of industrial and commercial places that take up a lot of Centennial. So keep that in mind as our sixth con. For our 7th and final con of living in Centennial, Colorado, there's limited public transportation. Now, a lot of people in the United States, especially in Colorado, don't really use public transportation that much. It's not as expensive as it is in other cities. However, if you would prefer, you're living in Denver, for example, you don't want to deal with traffic and spend money on gas and stuff all the time if you commute a lot, the public transportation system in Centennial isn't great. Sure, you'll have the light rail that can get you to Denver and to various areas across the metro region. It's pretty limited on where you can go with the light rail and the RTD system. In terms of buses, things like that, it doesn't really exist. It's pretty much just cars. Car transportation, biking, sure, but you can't really bike to Denver from Centennial. It's very far. By bike, by car it's not too bad, like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, but that's a far bike ride. So yeah, in terms of transportation, you're pretty limited if you prefer to go the public transportation route in Centennial. So you pretty much have to really just focus on having a car and paying for gas and dealing with traffic. Okay, everybody, that wraps up our 7 pros and 7 cons of living in Centennial, Colorado. As I've mentioned a couple times throughout the video, comment below what you thought about these pros and cons and let us know which ones did we miss. There's plenty more pros, and I'm sure there's also some cons too that we didn't mention, didn't talk about in this video, so let us know in the comments. Like the video and subscribe, hit that bell notification icon. Those things help our channel more than you know. And you know what else helps our channel grow and do really well, more than you probably realize, is watch time. And because you've watched the video to this point, that's going to help out a ton. So keep that in mind when you're watching our videos and other YouTube videos on the search platform. Just know that the more you watch, the better YouTube is going to have them do. So keep that in mind. We appreciate you being here this far. Again, I'm Landon. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next videos.